A disproportionate number of minorities come into the community and commit crimes. Whoa! That is how the police chief of East Lansing, Michigan, described a situation in which some East Lansing cops are accused of excessive force and unlawfully arresting two lifelong residents of the city. Now, both residents are suing the City of East Lansing and Chief Jennifer Brown, who I quoted earlier, along with Officer Andrew Lyon. And I don't want to spoil the surprise, but these guys might be the minorities that Chief Brown was referencing in her quote. I'm America's attorney. I've been a lawyer for 24 years. I've helped almost 3 million people. Let's take a look at this August 2025 altercation that led to multiple arrests, the ensuing lawsuits, and then let's talk about what's coming next. Our plaintiffs, Mason Woods and Lonnie Smith, are both 22-year-old black men from East Lansing, Michigan, and they're lifelong friends who grew up in the same community where they now accuse police of violating their civil rights. According to their federal lawsuits filed on November 6, 2025, in the Western District of Michigan, both men were attending the Michigan State University's Welcome Week celebrations when the incident occurred. Their lawsuits allege that despite their deep ties to the city, they were treated as outsiders and criminals by the very police department meant to protect them. Actually, they were kind of just both treated like minorities. Both men claim that the East Lansing Police Chief Jennifer Brown's later remark about a disproportionate number of minorities coming into the city to commit crimes reflected a mindset that shaped how the officers viewed them in their interaction. I've seen the video. It's hard to say they're wrong. At approximately 1:30 a.m. on August 24th, 22-year-old Mason Woods was standing in line outside the restaurant called Dave's Hot Chicken on Albert Avenue, while his friend Lonnie Smith waited across the street. Recipe note, do you know what the chemical is that is in the sauce that makes chicken spicy? Well, that chemical is called capsaicin. Keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Now, according to the complaint, a verbal dispute broke out near the doorway of the restaurant. Smith, who was watching from across the street, observed Woods in the midst of the exchange and believed that he could defuse the situation, so he crossed over and inserted himself between Woods and the other individuals. The lawsuit stressed that Woods and Smith believed the situation was already de-escalating and that Woods was about to leave with his friends. Before he could leave, however, 3 officers from the ELPD surged into the line. Among them was Andrew Lyon, who the complaint says emerged from the back of the crowd, pointed his oleoresin capsaicin pepper spray within approximately 5 inches of Smith's face and discharged it directly into his eyes, and then immediately turned the pepper spray towards Woods and the others around them. Now, as I said, that's the same chemical that's in the hot chicken. It's good in the mouth. It's real bad in the eyes. The entire law enforcement intervention, from officers entering the crowd to the pepper spray entering the eyes, allegedly elapsed in less than 8 seconds. That's the amount of time that a successful rodeo ride takes. That gave neither Smith nor Woods a meaningful opportunity to comply with any commands or even recognize that police were engaging them. Of course, after they got sprayed in the eyes, they couldn't recognize anything because, blind. My eyes! Anyways, Smith was momentarily blinded, he was in a lot of pain, and he was overwhelmed by the chemical exposure, and the officers reportedly ignored his protest that he was attempting to de-escalate, telling him simply, "It don't matter what you do." Woods was then taken into custody nearly simultaneously. The complaint details that both men were immediately handcuffed and then detained. Smith was reportedly told by Officer Lyon that he would be in jail until you're sober. Well, that shouldn't have taken very long because he later registered a 0.0000, and I could go on with the zeros, blood alcohol concentration. So obviously, they let him right out, right? Didn't charge him. In the days following, footage captured by the Dave's Hot Chicken restaurant security camera and later cited in the lawsuits revealed that no physical fight had occurred. Rather, the video shows Smith actively separating Woods from the other party, the interaction de-escalating until the police arrived. What's that one quote? There's no situation that's so bad that some police can't make it worse? Well, I think that applied here. Now, from the moment that Lonnie Smith and Mason Woods were pepper sprayed outside Dave's Hot Chicken, the treatment they allege at the hands of the ELPD deviated sharply from what their complaints describe as proper procedure. The lawsuits contend that neither man received timely medical treatment for the chemical burns and eye irritation from the spray, despite the severity of their chemical exposures. Both Woods and Lonnie Smith were each charged by the city with disorderly conduct fighting in a public place under East Lansing Ordinance Section 26-52, subsection 9, a misdemeanor offense carrying potential fines and up to 90 days in jail. The ordinance prohibits engaging in fighting or in violent, tumultuous, or threatening behavior in public. In Woods' case, The city went a step further by adding a second count of resisting or obstructing a police officer, claiming that he ignored lawful commands during the incident. Both lawsuits argue that these charges were based on fabricated narratives later contradicted by surveillance footage. The complaints say that the press release from East Lansing on September 26, 2025 falsely described the arrests as stemming from a fight outside Dave's Hot Chicken. Man, we are really saying Dave's Hot Chicken a bunch in this video. Dave's Hot Chicken, Dave's Hot Chicken, Dave's Hot Chicken. Is this a sponsored video? Is this my first sponsored video in a really long time? Should it be? Hey, listen, I did some research on Dave's Hot Chicken and it is exploding. By the end of this year, there could be more than 400 locations worldwide. There's already more than 280 just in the US. There is no code for a discount in the video description. Ugh. Anyways, the release continued by asserting that the two men actively engaged in physical altercations and ignored multiple loud verbal commands. The city also reiterated the claim that the men were under the influence of chicken? Whatever. A statement especially damaging in Smith's case since, as I already mentioned, he was completely sober. On the other hand, he was waiting across the street from a fried chicken shop at 1:30 in the morning, which is kind of a drunk move. But the press release was amplified statewide, cementing the false impression that both men were violent or intoxicated, or both. But from the moment the surveillance footage emerged, the narrative laid out by the ELPD began unraveling. The video captured from outside Dave's Hot Chicken shows the lead into what the department described as a fight between Mason Woods, Lonnie Smith, and other individuals. It depicts Woods standing near the restaurant entrance with several individuals exchanging words in the tight, crowded doorway. Smith, visible crossing the street just moments later, intervenes to pull Woods away from the tension, placing himself between his friend and the others in an apparent effort to calm things down. It was getting pretty spicy in there. Crucially, the video shows that neither Woods nor Smith strike or shove anyone before the officers arrive or after. There's no visible resistance to the cops and no clear indication that either man is aware that the police are present before Officer Andrew Lyon pushes through the crowd. Without issuing an audible warning, Lyon can be seen reaching over other officers and discharging pepper spray at point-blank range, hitting both Smith and Woods almost simultaneously. The spray also disperses into nearby bystanders, several of whom are seen recoiling and wiping their faces. Now, I know a lot of you think that that's how Dave's Hot Chicken spices their meat, but I can assure you they don't. They dredge it in a spicy liquid. They don't spray it like that. And actually, neither do non-racist cops. If you think about how arrests normally take place, cops don't just start out by pepper spraying everyone from point-blank range. It's not how it's done. The ELPD's body-worn camera release and public statements painted a much different scene. That the two men ignored several commands, engaged in a fight, were uncooperative, were black. Oh, no, they didn't say that. Oh, actually, they kind of did. And therefore justified the officer's immediate use of pepper spray. In early October 2025, the local prosecutor filed motions citing in the interest of justice to dismiss the charges against both Woods and Smith, charges that had been based on the notion of disorderly conduct and fighting outside the Dave's Hot Chicken restaurant. The dismissal followed recognition that the visual evidence contradicted the department's narrative and revealed no clear aggressive conduct by either of the two. Now, this is a great chance for me to interpret the prosecutor's legalese. What he's actually saying is that the cops who wrote up the report were completely full of shit. Both lawsuits invoke the federal civil rights statute under 42 U.S.C. section 1983, asserting that Officer Andrew Lyon, Chief Jennifer Brown, and the city acted under color of law to violate their constitutional rights. For example, Smith's complaint alleges that Lyon's pepper spray use and subsequent arrest and wrongful detention constituted excessive force and false seizure under the Fourth Amendment. And in addition to individual liability, the complaints include a Monell claim against the city, named for the Supreme Court's decision in Monell versus Department of Social Services. These claims allege that the city maintained policies or customs, or at least a failure to train, that encouraged or tolerated excessive force, particularly against minorities, and thus made the municipality itself liable for the acts of Lyon and Brown. The complaints further cite Brown's subsequent remark about a disproportionate number of minorities coming to East Lansing to commit crimes as evidence of a racialized mindset shaping enforcement priorities and public messaging, and note that the city's press release was issued with attorney review despite video contradicting its claims. Man, I hope it wasn't the same lawyer who said, in the interest of justice, the criminal charges needed to be dismissed. Actually, maybe I'm hoping it was the same lawyer. I mean, maybe he pulled his head out of his butt. Now, on the state law side, the lawsuits assert claims under the Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 11, for unreasonable searches and seizures, common law battery against Lyon for the close-range pepper spray, and defamation and libel slander against Chief Brown and the city for the September 2025 press release and public comments that allegedly mischaracterized Woods and Smith as aggressors. Together, these legal theories aim to hold the city, its chief, and an individual officer accountable, not just for what happened on the night in question, but for the broader supervisory training policy and communications failures that plaintiffs contend permitted and compounded the harm. The city and its police department have yet to file formal answers. I mean, as I said, the lawsuits were just filed, and they do get 21 days from the date of service to answer the lawsuit, so no official court conferences have been scheduled or anything like that. Police Chief Jennifer Brown, or as I call her, J-Bro, is facing calls to resign due to her comments about Smith and Woods' arrest, as well as a lack of transparency. I don't know what that means. She has been pretty transparent about her racism, so I don't see what the problem is. Do you think Chief Brown should resign? What are your thoughts about the lawsuit filed against the city? And how much are their claims worth? Drop your pro se opinion down below in the comments and let me know what you think. And make sure you give Mason Woods and Lonnie Smith the support their community didn't. And you can do that by sharing their story, by sharing this video. And don't forget to lawyer up with me, America's attorney, by hitting that subscribe button. And I'll be back soon with more legal breakdowns. I'm on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and I'd love for you to be on the team. And I'll see you soon at a Dave's Hot Chicken near you. Oleoresin capsaicins peppers. Pointed his Olesi. By the end of this year, there could